We're hacking Plants vs. Zombies. Game, cheat engine, attach your process, and let's get started. Boom! We're in the game, I see a number, let's hack it. You can search for your sun pretty easily, and once you find it, add it to your cheat table and look for what writes to it. Once you gain some sun, this'll pop up. Hit show disassembler, tools, auto-assemble template, and AOB injection. The monstrosity you see before you is assembly code, and luckily we can decipher it as long as we know what we're looking for. The important part is this add instruction, which is adding to how much sun we have. I'm gonna change this to a move instruction, which sets our money equal to the second value, which I'm gonna change to a big number. Save the script, enable it, and go ahead and gain some sun. Well, congrats, you're now officially a cheater. You should be ashamed of yourself. But while we're at it, let's stop the game from spending sun when we plant stuff. When you put a pea shooter down, a different instruction should pop up. Just like before, AOB injection and change this value to a big number. And now when you plant stuff, it should set your money to that number. Now before we continue, I'm gonna add both of these scripts to a group. Call it something like infinite sun, then right click on it, go to group config and enable these three. This is basically gonna allow us to enable and disable both scripts with just one button. Cause life is short, I don't have time to be pressing 2. I also don't have time to wait for this damn pea shooter's cooldown. I'm gonna search for an unknown initial 4-byte value. As the pea shooter's cooldown changes, search for a changed value, and while it's not changing, search for an unchanged value. Once you narrow it down, do an AOB injection as always, and let's see the code. This time we've got an ink instruction which adds 1 to this value. Naturally, to make it go faster, we're gonna add a really big number instead. Save your script, enable it, and let's see what happens. Hell yeah, we can get all the pea shooters we want now. Now I know we just moved on from this, but bear with me. Let's go back to our second infinite sun script for a second. You see that EDI plus blah 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 in the brackets? That's actually the address in memory that holds how much sun we have. It's common for games to store your stats or money or whatever as some base player address plus an offset. I'm going to use this to get our player's address so we can extract useful information out of it. I'm going to allocate a custom 4-byte variable and move whatever's in EDI into it. Then hit add address manually and put the exact name of that variable. Now if you did everything right, once you plant something, you should see that variable turn to some random number. Beautiful. Now I'm going to add a second address, again using player ID, but this time with that offset from our sun script. Pretty neat, huh? Now you have a permanent address to your sun as long as you plant something first to get your player ID. Now this is pretty cool. If you just blew in from boring dickhead town, that is. I'm going to change the offset a little bit so we can see what else is in this region of memory. Let's see if changing this does anything cool. Oh, the flag went a little bit to the right. Looks like this is related to the duration of the level because the bigger number you make it, the more flags you get. You could probably keep changing this offset and find even cooler stuff, but for now I'm going to move on to our next hack. Our pea shooters are doing great. They're really pleasuring those zombies, shooting them in the crotch like that. But you know, I actually prefer killing zombies when I shoot them, so I'm going to look for one of their HP values. When you find it, go ahead and find out what writes to it as always. If you scroll up a bit, you'll see a sub instruction, which is obviously subtracting from the zombie's health, so go ahead and click it and do an AOB injection. Now you could simply subtract by a really big number, but it's useful to be in control of how much damage you do. So first, I'm going to move ESP plus 20, which is how much damage we're doing, into the EAX register. I'm going to multiply EAX by a custom variable and then subtract by the result. This is basically going to allow us to have a multiplier we can change on the fly to control how much damage we do. Enable the script, increase the multiplier, and finally our pea shooters don't suck balls, except yes they do because look how slow they shoot. You see, each pea shooter has a timer that slowly goes down before shooting when it hits 0. Then it's reset back to its initial value. I'm gonna focus on just one of the pea shooters and search for its timer. While it's not shooting, its timer is gonna be decreasing, but right after it shoots, its timer will have increased. Eventually I found an integer that upon setting to 0 made the middle pea shooter fire immediately, so this is clearly its timer. Let's do an AOB injection on the instruction that pops up when it shoots. ECX is what the timer is being set to every time the pea shooter shoots, so just change it to a really small number like 10. Or, again, if you want to have more control, you can allocate a custom variable and move that into the timer instead. Remember to allocate 4 bytes since that's how long an integer is. Now if you're wondering why I can't just move the variable into ESI directly, it's because we can't move an address into another address. We have to dereference our variable first by moving it into another register and then move that register into the ESI address. Go ahead and add the variable to the cheat table, enable the script, set it to a really small number, and they stopped shooting. Okay, I made the cooldown 41 and now they're shooting a little faster. And now they're having seizures. Okay, what's going on? The problem is there are actually two timers, one that's constantly running and another one that begins running when the other timer hits 0. The plant only shoots when this second timer hits 0. When we're setting our first timer's cooldown to a really small number, this happens. The second timer is being reset way too fast, so it's never actually shooting. The solution is to also search for the second timer. Remember, the second timer only starts changing once the first timer hits 0, which is indicated by the pea shooter's animation starting to change. It's a lot easier to search for this one if you use a speed hack to slow down your game. While the pea shooter's attack animation is playing, search for a changing value, and while it's in its idle state, search for an unchanging value. This one's a little tougher to search for, but eventually you should find a pretty clean looking integer just like with our first timer. Once again, find out what writes to it, click the instruction that pops up when it shoots, and do an AOB injection. I'm gonna move the custom variable we made earlier into EDX and then move EDX into the timer. Oof, that's a lot better. Pee all over that guy, little buddy. Now at this point, if you still have your damage hack enabled, you might have noticed that, yeah, it doesn't work on armor. In other words, cone heads and bucket heads aren't affected. This is because armor has a separate HP value from the zombie's HP. We're gonna do literally exactly what we did for the damage hack, but this time we're gonna be searching for the armor's health. I'm gonna organize both of my damage scripts real quick, put them in a group, configure the group to enable and disable them in one button press, and bada bing, bada boom. Hell yeah. Hey, you get away from that sunflower. No, you bastard. We gotta make sure a tragedy like that never happens again. Go ahead and let one of your plants take a little bit of damage and search for its health. Eventually you're gonna find a nice looking integer that decreases every time your plant is bit. You can verify that this is your plant's HP by increasing it. If your plant heals, then you know you found the right one. Do an AOB injection, and as you can see, it's adding -4 to our plant's HP, so just replace that with a really big positive number. Now, not only do our plants not die, but they actually get healed whenever the zombies bite them. Our poor little sunflowers will never die again. Now if you scroll down in the script, you can actually copy the injection point. If you go into memory view, hit Ctrl G and enter this address, you can actually take a look at the code that runs every time a plant is bit. You can actually do a lot of interesting stuff by editing the code around here. For example, I went back to the damage script I wrote earlier and found the function that's called to make zombies take damage. Using this function, I managed to give my plants thorns damage. Yeah, now they're getting a taste of their own medicine. Every time you bite a plant, it bites back. But that's not all you can do. You can write a script to apply a freezing effect every time they bite a plant. You can write a script to lose the game. When you get good at assembly, you can honestly do whatever you want with the game. Like, check out this script I wrote to plant stuff on command. It even lets me overlap plants. Or if you're lazy like me, you can use it to plant on every tile simultaneously. And if you change the plant ID, you can even access secret plants? That's right, you can plant stuff you normally wouldn't be able to, like this cool looking red walnut. Or how about this big walnut? Or how about these cute little flowers? You can do reverse repeaters and probably more, but honestly these buggy plants kept crashing my game, so I didn't do much experimenting. But anyways, that's going to be all for this video. If you want to talk to me, or if you have any questions about some of the more complicated scripts I wrote in the video, feel free to join my Discord server. Thank you for watching, and peace out.